Hey everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and today we have an exciting and super helpful episode for you. If you've ever wondered how to speak English fluently and naturally, you're in the right place.
That's right, Jason. I'm Julia, your co-host, and today we're going to break down the secrets of fluency. Many English learners struggle with speaking confidently, and we totally understand why. Maybe you know a lot of words but hesitate when speaking, or maybe you feel nervous about making mistakes.
Exactly. But don't worry. Fluency is not about being perfect. It's about being able to express yourself clearly and naturally. In this episode, we'll share powerful techniques, daily habits, and tips to help you speak English with confidence.
And stay with us till the end, because we're also going to bust some fluency myths and give you a simple daily routine that can make a huge difference in your speaking skills.
So, whether you're a beginner or already learning English, this episode is for you. Get ready to boost your fluency, and let's dive in. All right, Julia, before we talk about how to become fluent, let's clear something up. What does fluent English really mean? A lot of learners think fluency means speaking super fast, like a native speaker. But is that true?
Great question, Jason. Many people believe fluency is all about speed, but that's actually a myth. Fluency isn't about speaking fast, it's about speaking smoothly and naturally without too much hesitation.
Right. So if someone pauses to think about a word or corrects themselves, does that mean they aren't fluent?
Not at all. Even native speakers pause, rephrase sentences, and sometimes struggle to find the right words. Fluency means you can communicate your thoughts clearly and keep the conversation going without getting stuck too often.
That makes sense. So, fluency is more about communication and flow, not perfection. I think many learners also believe that fluency means knowing every single word in English. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's another big myth. You don't need a massive vocabulary to be fluent. Think about how kids learn their first language. They don't start with difficult words, but they communicate fluently with what they know. The key is to learn useful phrases and expressions instead of memorizing long vocabulary lists.
Exactly. So, to sum it up, fluency is about speaking comfortably and confidently, not perfectly or super fast. It's about using the words you already know in a smooth way. And guess what? You don't have to sound exactly like a native speaker to be fluent.
That's such an important point, Jason. Your goal should be clear and natural communication, not sounding 100% native. Accent and small mistakes don't matter as long as people understand you.
Absolutely. Now that we understand what fluency really means, let's move on to some common myths about fluency and why they're stopping people from improving. Now that we know what fluency really means, let's talk about some common myths that stop people from improving their English. Julia, what's the first big myth you've heard?
Oh, I hear this one all the time. You need to know all the grammar rules to be fluent. Many learners think they must master every tense, every rule, and every exception before they can speak confidently. But that's not true at all.
Absolutely. If you focus too much on grammar, you might end up thinking too much before you speak. Native speakers don't even follow every grammar rule perfectly when they talk.
Exactly. Instead of worrying about grammar, learners should focus on expressing their ideas clearly. You can always improve your grammar over time, but don't let it stop you from speaking.
Great point. Okay, here's another myth. You must have a native speaking partner to become fluent. What do you think about that?
Oh, I love this one. Of course, speaking with a native speaker can help, but it's not the only way to improve fluency. Many people have learned English fluently without ever speaking to a native speaker.
That's so true. There are many ways to practice speaking, like self-talk, shadowing, or even talking with other learners. Plus, there are so many online resources to listen to real English conversations.
Right. So if you don't have a native speaker to practice with, don't worry. Just create your own speaking opportunities with the methods we'll discuss later.
Okay, next myth. Fluency means making zero mistakes. This one stops a lot of learners from speaking because they're afraid of getting things wrong.
And that fear can really slow down progress. Mistakes are a normal part of learning. Even fluent speakers and native speakers make mistakes. They just keep going and correct themselves naturally.
Exactly. If you wait until you can speak perfectly, you'll never start speaking at all. The key is to communicate, not to be perfect.
Yes, and here's one last myth. You must speak fast to be fluent. A lot of learners think speaking quickly makes them sound more advanced, but that's not true.
Right. Fluency is about smoothness, not speed. Some of the best English speakers speak clearly and at a natural pace. Rushing can actually make your speech harder to understand.
So true. The best way to sound fluent is to speak clearly, naturally, and confidently, not as fast as possible.
Exactly. So, let's quickly recap. Fluency is not about knowing every grammar rule, talking to a native speaker every day, speaking without mistakes, or speaking super fast. It's about being able to communicate naturally and confidently.
That's right. And now that we've cleared up these myths, let's move on to the next big question. What are the key skills you need to develop fluency? Stay with us.
Now that we've busted some common fluency myths, let's talk about something really important. The key skills you need to develop fluency. Julia, what's the first skill every English learner should focus on?
Great question, Jason. The first and most important skill is active listening. If you want to speak fluently, you need to listen to how English is spoken in real conversations. The more you listen, the more natural your speaking will become.
That makes a lot of sense. So, listening is not just about understanding, it's also about absorbing the way native speakers use words, phrases, and pronunciation.
Exactly. A great way to practice is by listening to podcasts like this one, watching English movies, or even following YouTube videos with subtitles. The key is to listen actively, pay attention to how words are connected, how intonation changes, and even how pauses are used in natural speech.
That's a great tip. All right, here's another key skill. Thinking in English. Many learners translate from their native language before speaking, and that slows them down.
Oh, yes. If you always translate in your head, it takes too much time, and you'll feel stuck. Instead, try to train your brain to think directly in English. A simple way to do this is by describing what you see around you in English.
That's a great exercise. For example, if you're walking down the street, you can think, "The weather is sunny today. I see a red car passing by." This helps your brain get used to English without translating.
Exactly. The more you do this, the more natural English will feel when you speak.
All right, let's talk about another skill, speaking without fear of mistakes. This is a big one because many learners feel nervous when they talk.
Yes, but remember, fluency doesn't mean perfection. The more you practice speaking, the more confident you become. The key is to keep talking, even if you make mistakes.
That's true. A good way to practice is by using shadowing, where you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say, trying to match their tone and rhythm.
Shadowing is an amazing technique. It improves pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence. And the best part? You don't even need a partner. You can practice anytime, anywhere.
Love it. Now, here's another important skill. Using simple and natural phrases instead of trying to sound too complex.
Yes, many learners try to use difficult words, but fluency is about communicating ideas clearly. Native speakers often use simple, natural expressions, and that's what learners should focus on too.
Right. Instead of saying, I am experiencing a state of exhaustion, just say, I'm really tired. Simple, clear, and fluent.
That's a perfect example. And here's one last key skill: practicing every day, even for a few minutes.
Yes, fluency is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Just 10 to 15 minutes of speaking practice daily can make a huge difference over time.
Absolutely. So let's quickly recap. Fluency skills include active listening, thinking in English, speaking without fear, shadowing, using simple phrases, and practicing daily.
Exactly. And next, we'll share some powerful techniques you can start using today to practice and improve your fluency faster. Stay with us. All right. Now that we've talked about the key skills for fluency, let's move on to something really exciting. Practical techniques that can help you speak English more fluently. Julia, what's the first technique you recommend?
One of the best techniques is shadowing. We mentioned it earlier, but let's explain it in detail. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker, maybe from a podcast, movie, or YouTube video, and repeat what they say immediately, trying to match their pronunciation and rhythm.
That's a fantastic exercise. And the best part? You don't need a conversation partner for this. You can practice alone, anytime you want.
Exactly. It helps you improve pronunciation, speed, and confidence. If you do this daily for just 10 minutes, you'll see amazing progress.
Love that. Okay, here's another technique. Self-talk. Many learners don't practice because they don't have a partner, but you can actually talk to yourself in English.
Oh yes, self-talk is a great way to practice thinking and speaking in English. You can describe what you're doing, like I'm making coffee or I need to go to the store later. You can even have mini conversations with yourself.
That's a great tip. Another technique is storytelling. Instead of just answering with short sentences, try explaining things in detail.
Yes. For example, instead of just saying, I went to the park, you can say, I went to the park this morning. The weather was sunny, and I saw children playing on the swings. Adding details helps you think in English and express yourself better.
That's a great way to build fluency. All right, let's talk about a really fun technique. Role-playing. This is where you act out real-life situations, like ordering food at a restaurant or introducing yourself at a meeting.
Yes, you can find common conversation scripts online, or just imagine a situation and practice speaking aloud. Even better, you can record yourself and listen to how you sound.
That's a fantastic idea. And speaking of recording, another great technique is recording yourself speaking. It might feel a little strange at first, but when you listen back, you can hear where you need to improve.
Exactly. You can also compare your recording with a native speaker's pronunciation and see where you can improve.
Love it. And here's one final technique: conversation clubs or language exchange apps. There are so many online communities where you can practice speaking with other learners or native speakers.
Yes, apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, and even social media groups can help you connect with people who want to practice English together.
So true. All right, let's do a quick recap. Some of the best techniques for fluency include shadowing, self-talk, storytelling, role-playing, recording yourself, and joining conversation groups.
That's right. And up next, we'll discuss one of the biggest challenges English learners face: overcoming fear and nervousness when speaking. Stay tuned.
One of the biggest challenges English learners face is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding strange, or even fear of being judged. Julia, why do so many learners feel nervous when speaking English?
It's totally normal. Most learners worry that people will laugh at their mistakes or that they won't find the right words. But the truth is, mistakes are a natural part of learning.
That's so true. And here's something important. Native speakers don't expect you to be perfect. In fact, they admire people who are learning and trying to communicate.
Exactly. So the first step to overcoming fear is changing your mindset. Instead of thinking, what if I make a mistake? Think, every mistake helps me improve.
Love that. Another great tip is starting with small, low-pressure conversations. If talking to a stranger feels too scary, start by practicing with a friend, or even by speaking to yourself.
Yes. And another technique is slowing down when you speak. Many learners feel nervous because they try to speak too fast. But fluent speech is not about speed, it's about being clear and confident.
That's such a great point. Also, preparation helps reduce fear. If you often need to speak in English, maybe at work or school, practice common phrases in advance so you feel more ready.
Exactly. And one more tip, record yourself speaking and listen back. You'll probably realize you sound much better than you think.
Great advice. So, quick recap. Change your mindset. Start with small conversations. Slow down. Prepare common phrases. And record yourself. Confidence comes with practice.
That's right. And next, we'll talk about how to build a daily English speaking habit that will take your fluency to the next level. Stay with us.
All right. Now that we've talked about overcoming fear, let's discuss something super important. How to create a daily routine for fluency. Julia, why is having a routine so important?
Because fluency doesn't happen overnight. The more consistent you are, the faster you improve. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a big difference.
That's a great point. So, let's break it down. What are the key parts of a good fluency routine?
First, listening practice. Start your day by listening to English, maybe with a podcast, an audiobook, or even English music.
Yes. And after listening, try shadowing. Repeat what you hear to improve pronunciation and rhythm.
Exactly. Next, set aside time for speaking practice. You can do self-talk, describe your day in English, or even practice with a language partner online.
That's a great habit. And don't forget about reading and writing. Reading boosts vocabulary, and writing helps you organize your thoughts.
Yes, and one last thing, make it fun. If your routine feels boring, you won't stick to it. Watch movies, play games, or talk about topics you love.
Such great tips! So, to build fluency, have a daily routine with listening, shadowing, speaking, reading, writing, and making it fun. Stay consistent, and fluency will follow.
Absolutely. And next, we'll talk about how to stay motivated and keep improving your English over time. Stay with us.
We've covered so many great tips today on how to speak fluent English. But before we wrap up, Julia, what's your final advice for English learners?
My biggest advice is, don't give up. Fluency takes time, but every step you take brings you closer. Be patient, enjoy the process, and trust that you're improving every day.
That's so true. And remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be confident and keep practicing. Mistakes are proof that you're learning.
Absolutely. Also, surround yourself with English. Listen to music, watch movies, and talk to people whenever you can. Make English a part of your daily life.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening, you can do this. Stay consistent, keep practicing, and fluency will come. We believe in you.
Yes, and if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to keep learning with us. We'll be back with more tips and conversations to help you on your English journey.
Until next time, keep practicing, stay confident, and enjoy your English learning adventure. See you soon. Before we go, we have one last thing to say. Keep practicing and never stop learning. Fluency is a journey, and you're already on the right path.
That's right. And if you found this podcast helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English learning tips and conversations.
Also, share this episode with a friend who wants to improve their English. Learning together makes the journey more fun and motivating.
And let us know in the comments, what's your biggest challenge in speaking English? We'd love to help.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Keep learning, keep growing, and stay confident.
Bye for now and happy learning.